Okay, so today we're digging into one of the most spectacular, just mind-blowing implosions in retail history, the collapse of Saks Global. This was supposed to be a luxury empire that would dominate everything, but instead it turned into a complete textbook case of self-destruction. Let's get into how it all went so wrong, so fast. For generations, this building was so much more than a store, Saks Fifth Avenue. It was an institution, right? It was this promise, this covenant with its customers that was built on incredible taste and just unwavering trust. It's where you went to celebrate the big moments in your life.
And yet, just 13 months after this massive mega merger created Saks Global, this became the reality. Almost $5 billion in debt. It was a complete catastrophe that left hundreds of vendors unpaid, and honestly, the entire luxury world just stunned.
Which brings us to the big question, right? How on earth does this happen? How do you take three of America's most iconic, beloved brands, Saks, Neiman Marcus, and Bergdorf Goodman, and literally drive them into bankruptcy in a little over a year? Well, the answer lies in a really fatal strategy that valued the buildings more than the brands inside them. You see, it all started with a philosophy that had nothing to do with high fashion. It came from the world of commercial real estate. The leadership, they saw their stores not as these temples of luxury, but just as assets on a balance sheet. Assets that were ready to be squeezed for every last drop of cash.
And you don't even have to take my word for it. This quote from the leadership itself, it reveals the entire flawed mindset. When the person in charge says that the core business of being a retailer is too tough, well, that tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. The goal was never about selling beautiful things. It was all about extracting value from the square footage.
And here is their playbook. It was this simple, almost cynical, four-step process of financial engineering. Step 1, buy a legendary brand. Step 2, mortgage its famous property for a huge pile of cash. Step 3, use that cash not to improve the business, oh no, but to pay off the massive debt you just took on. And the inevitable result? The actual retail experience, the stores, the staff, the products, it was completely starved of investment. So this real estate-first strategy, as you can imagine, had absolutely devastating consequences. It systematically destroyed the three pillars that any luxury business is built on: the creative partners who supply the magic, the expert staff who build the relationships, and of course, the loyal customers who are the whole reason you exist in the first place.
First, they went after the vendors. The leadership treated these incredibly talented designers and creative partners like they were just contractors on a construction site, just a cost to be squeezed down. But in luxury, these partners are the product. By squeezing them, Saks Global wasn't just cutting costs. They were actively getting rid of the very reason people shop there. And the result? Chanel, one of the most powerful brands on earth, was left being owed $136 million. Next up, the people. This little story from a veteran style advisor is so powerful. You have a customer who's not sure about buying jewelry at a department store. An algorithm has no answer for that. But a person, a human being with decades of experience, they can confidently reframe that entire conversation and make the sale. That human touch, it is absolutely irreplaceable. But Saks Global got rid of these veterans. They traded that deep human intelligence for a CRM platform. A top sales associate has this mental database of their clients' lives, their tastes, their preferences. They know why someone buys, not just what they bought. A platform can tell you Mrs. Smith bought a blue dress, but it can't tell you she'll only buy the matching earrings if you show her the ring first. That's the difference.
And finally, they just shattered the customer experience. In a bid to attract textile investors, they split the website from the physical stores, basically turning them into competitors. Now, this solved a capital problem for Wall Street, sure, but it created a massive headache for customers. We live in an age where a seamless online to in-store experience is the absolute bare minimum, and they left shoppers trying to navigate this disjointed, frustrating mess.
So, with their vendors alienated, their best people fired, and their customer experience totally broken, what could possibly go wrong? Well, after weakening their own business from the inside, the leadership decided it was a great time to pick a fight with the most powerful man in luxury, Bernard Arnault, the chairman of LVMH, a man known as the Cashmere Wolf. The entire strategy behind the big Saks-Neiman merger was based on this idea they called vendor leverage. They actually believed that by controlling a majority of the U.S. wholesale market, they could finally force powerhouse brands like Louis Vuitton and Dior to bend to their will. They thought that just being big would give them power. They were profoundly wrong. When Saks Global tried to flex its muscles, Bernard Arnault didn't even bother to negotiate. He simply pulled his multi-million-dollar Louis Vuitton shop right out of the store and opened his own boutique, right next door. The lesson was brutal, and it was crystal clear. Customers come for the brand, not the building. The retailer is just the venue.
See, Arnault didn't get a nickname like the Cashmere Wolf by playing short-term financial games. His entire empire is built on creating overwhelming customer demand and long-term brand value. He doesn't need to win a negotiation right in the moment. He just has to wait, because he owns the thing the customer ultimately wants. So after alienating vendors, firing experts, and losing a huge power struggle with the biggest brands in the world, what was the final result? Well, the customer gave their verdict, and the data, it's absolutely damning. The numbers here tell the entire story. In the exact same period that competitors like Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's grew by 10%, Saks' sales plummeted by 16%. So the market wasn't the problem. Their strategy was. Customers simply voted with their wallets, and they went somewhere else. And this quote just perfectly sums up the core lesson of this whole debacle. Saks Global had a database with 30 million names, but they didn't understand the actual people behind those data points. They totally forgot that luxury isn't about transactions, it's about relationships. You succeed by understanding people, not just by tracking what they buy. And that leaves us with one final, deeply ironic question. As the bankruptcy lawyers are picking through the nearly $5 billion wreckage, there's this little open secret hanging in the air. Bernard Arnault has always wanted to own Bergdorf Goodman. So is it possible that the Cashmere Wolf, the man they tried and failed to strong-arm, will end up buying the most precious jewel from the very empire his rival destroyed? It's a chilling reminder that in the world of luxury, brand and vision will always outlast financial engineering.